We're making my juicy take on chicken smash tacos that are full of flavor and fresh ingredients, including quick roasted Mexican street corn, avocado, and easy lime crema. Hello, my name is Nicole Bonilla. If you love healthier recipes that taste amazing, then you are in the right place. Now, you're welcome to jot down these ingredients as we go along, or you can click on the recipe link that's in the video description below. And that will take you to the full recipe with all the details, including nutrition facts, ingredients and substitutions, and frequently asked questions. Now, when it comes to the corn in the salad, you have the option of just using it fresh or roasting it first. So we have 1.5 cups of corn, and you could use fresh or canned. We have 1/4 cup of some chopped red onion, which is about 1/4 of a red onion. And then I have 2 cloves of minced garlic. Now to roast the corn, you could use a cast iron pan. So I'm going to bring it to a medium-high heat and then add in about 1 tablespoon of some light olive oil. Now that's nice and warm, we'll go ahead and add in our corn, our red onion. And I'll add a few pinches of salt and a couple of dashes of pepper. And then we're just going to let that sit and cook for about 3 minutes so that that corn can get some nice color on the bottom. So now we'll come in and give it a good stir. You can see it's already starting to brown on the bottom. And we'll go ahead and spread this out again. And then we'll just let that cook for about another minute. Now that we have about a minute left in our pan, we want to go ahead and add our garlic. And we'll give that a chance to warm up and start to bloom. And then we can start mixing it all together. And then as soon as you can smell that garlic, you know it's done. Then we'll transfer it to a plate so it can cool. Now to make these really fun smashed tacos, we're going to start by mixing together our meat. And we're going to start with 1 pound of ground chicken, and you could use any variety that you like. So I'm just going to add this to my bowl. And then for flavor, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 3 cloves of minced garlic, 1 teaspoon of paprika, 1 teaspoon of cumin, 1 teaspoon of oregano. Now for the salt, you could add as much as you like, but for the recipe, I'm going to say 1/2 teaspoon. But I know that we like our meat to be a little bit on the saltier side, so I'm going to go ahead and add 1 teaspoon to mine. But you can adjust accordingly. And then I'm going to squirt in 1 tablespoon of some lime juice and a few dashes of pepper. Now you can mix this together with a spoon or a spatula, but I found it's really easy just to do it by hand. I'm just going to go in and just fold my meat over into all of those spices until it's all really well combined. And oh my goodness, does this smell good. Now for the tortillas, you could use any size or kind that you like. My favorite are these jumbo corn tortillas because I think having the slightly larger size is easier when you fold them in half to hold all your toppings. So I'm just going to divide my mixture into 6 equal portions. And then this meat is nice and soft, so I can just plop it right onto the tortilla and then just use a nice large spoon and just spread it around really even on the tortilla. And because this chicken is going to shrink a little bit as it cooks, I do like to push it all the way out to the edge because that gives the most surface area for the tacos. Now, if you could use more healthy inspiration on a regular basis, I invite you to join my email list. All you have to do is click on the link that's in the video description below, and that is the best way for us to stay connected. Now, because chicken is a lean meat, we can be a little bit generous with adding some oil. So I'm just adding some light olive oil to my pan that's at a medium to high heat. And I'm going to use my Hex-Clad hybrid pan because it gives you the best of cast iron, stainless steel, and nonstick. Now once we put the taco into the pan, it's nice to have something kind of heavy to put on top of it to keep it cooking nice and flat. So I just have this heat-proof glass jar, and then I have a little meat weight that I'm going to put on top of it. But you could also just press it down with a spatula if that's all you have. So as I lay this in, I'm going to carefully lay it away from me so I don't splash any oil. And just place this right on top. And then I'm just going to let this cook for about 1 minute to 1.5 minutes or until I see the sides of the chicken starting to turn a nice golden brown. Now because this chicken is so thin, it is going to cook very quickly. So I can tell that it's already starting to turn brown after a little over 1 minute. So I'll carefully take off my glass jar and then come in with my spatula and very carefully flip it over. And then we have this perfectly juicy and crispy on the outside chicken layer. So now we're just going to let this cook for about 30 seconds just to toast the bottom side of the tortilla. So after about 30 seconds, I can see that the bottom is just starting to toast. So I've just taken a cookie sheet and then layered it with a cooling rack. And then I'll just place the taco right on top, and that keeps it from getting soggy before we have a chance to eat it. And then we can just repeat this process for the rest of the tacos. Well, here's our tray of cooked smashed tacos, and they smell absolutely incredible. And now comes the best part, we get to load them up with our favorite toppings. So I'm going to start with some finely shredded lettuce. And then I'll add a few spoonfuls of our Mexican street corn and a few black beans. And then I'll come in with some of the cilantro lime crema. And then I'll come in with a couple slices of fresh avocado to add some delicious creaminess and flavor. And a little bit of cotija cheese, which is my favorite. And a few fresh tomatoes. And a few little cilantro leaves. So you can see why it works best to use the jumbo-sized tortillas. Now hopefully I can get that all squished down inside. All right, this may not be very ladylike, but I'm going for it. Oh my goodness, that is seriously so good. That is such a flavorful bite with the best textures. That tortilla just has tons of flavor and is just lightly toasted. And then I get that juicy chicken that has so much flavor in it. And then getting the roasted street corn with the onions and the creamy avocado. That is seriously so good, and I love that it's made with clean, natural ingredients. Well, thank you so much for joining me today to make this fun recipe, and I've included the link to the full recipe in the video description below, and that will take you to my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I invite you to join me again in my kitchen.